we try to hire salespeople who derive pleasure from selling, but they don't derive pleasure from updating Excel and PowerPoint.
No.
So when they have to update Excel and PowerPoint for a few hours, their mood changes, and then they're not in the mood to sell because they've just been updating for 3 or 4 hours. That, if you keep your sales team selling, they're going to be most happy. How powerful data can be, and to put systems in place that really reduce the amount of effort.
Yeah.
So if we can keep our sales team engaged in the things that they love to do, they'll be happier, they'll be more motivated.
Welcome to Leadership in Manufacturing podcast, your go-to resource for mastering leadership excellence in the dynamic world of electronics. I'm your host, Sannah Vinding, and I'm so excited you're here. I'm here to bring you insightful interviews with industry leaders from distribution, the manufacturing sector, and also manufacturing reps. Before we start, I have a small request. If you're enjoying our podcast on platforms like Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please hit the follow button. Your support is going to help us to bring in even more amazing guests to share the valuable knowledge. So thank you for listening in. If you want to learn more, check out our website. It's called leadershipinmanufacturing.com. Welcome to Leadership in Manufacturing podcast. I'm your host, Sannah Vinding, and here you will find valuable practical tips and inspiration tailored to elevate your leadership in the manufacturing sector. So join us for this leadership journey of growth and success. I have a little favor. If you're listening on podcast, Spotify, or maybe you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe. It's going to help the channel. So thank you so much. Let's back to the show. So I want to introduce today's guest. Today's guest is Mark Wachtel. Mark is a seasonal leader in the industry and president at SJ Associate. His career is marked by strategic innovation and leadership, particularly in modernizing workforce practice to embrace and develop millennials and Gen Z talent. Under his guidance, at SJ Associate, he excels adapting to technological shifts and cultivating a nurturing and progressive workplace. Mark's approach combines technical acumen with a focus on human development, preparing the next generation of tech industry leaders. So welcome, Mark. I'm looking forward to hear your perspective on the industry.
Thank you. Nice to see you again.
Yeah. So I always love to hear, the passions and every guest that's here. So I want to hear, what excites you about the electronics industry?
Okay, well, it just turns out that I love technology. I've always been interested in how things work. I remember when I was very young, my friend's father worked for Grumman in
Yeah.
Bethpage, New York. And, that's the company that put a man on the moon. The LEM was developed by Grumman.
Yeah.
And he had a TV, an old TV back in the early 70s, and he took it apart and he showed us how it worked. And I was just fascinated. And I've certainly thought about a career in finance or a career in legal. But at the
Yeah.
end of the day, I always found myself interested in tech, and I'm always curious how things work. And 38 years later, it's still the same.
Yeah, right. I'm so impressed to see if you will look at your daily life or what's in your house or in your car, what you're using, how much tech that's around you, right? And how much
Right.
start to communicate and work smarter. If you trust all your
Sure. Yeah,
devices.
my insurance company just sent me something. It plugs into the wall, hooks up to your Wi-Fi router, hooks up
Yeah.
to your email address, and it can tell if there's a fire in your house. And
Oh,
they give it for free because obviously it
yeah.
reduces your insurance risk. Called
Ah.
Ting, Ting.
Oh, okay. Check it out. Yeah, that's all kind of new development of software or text that's coming out. So let's get back to talking about, communication and company culture and how to develop leadership. So
Right,
you talked about it at a certain point because we had a little pre-call, right? So let's
right,
go back to that. You're saying, you prioritize speaking less, but saying more when you communicate. Can you go
right.
deeper on this?
Sure. So, first of all, it's not easy. Takes a lot of practice. There's a lot of good tools out there where you can record yourself doing a presentation. And I encourage everyone, the first time you listen to yourself speak, you're going to hate it. It's uncomfortable, but it gets
Yes.
better in time.
Yeah.
So someone told me something a long time ago, and I had to go Google it, which I Googled for this call,
Yeah.
which is a famous quote that Woodrow Wilson had, which he said, someone asked him to make a speech, and he said, "Well, it depends. If I'm to speak now, I need a week to prepare. If I'm going to speak for 15 minutes, I need 3 days to prepare. If I'm going to speak for a half an hour, I only need 2 days. And if I'm going to speak for an hour, I'm ready now. And it really talked about how if he only wanted to speak for a few minutes, if he wanted to get everything that he wanted to say, he
Yeah.
needed a lot of time to prep for it. And for whatever reason, that just stuck with me, even though I heard it 30 years ago.
Yeah. No, it's spot on. It is spot on. It's I think as well as the more comfortable, of course, you are in within your industry or what you're talking about or what you have of your experience, right? The
Right.
better you can nail it down. But other times, if it's you're new or fresh or a new talent in the industry and you're not too sure, then suddenly you can be like talking forever
Right.
around it, right?
Yeah.
So you need to
Absolutely.
you have to find the balance and trust yourself as well.
Agreed.
Yeah. So how have what's your approach, with your team and the leadership and how you are creating new leaders in this industry? How do you cultivate them?
Well, it's we're going through it right now. So what we've done is we asked 5 of them to step up, and we actually told them that they were auditioning for spots in management. And we said, there's 5 of you auditioning, and there's 2 spots open. And what we do is we look to hire educated, intelligent, highly motivated individuals, and we also look for those that are very competitive. So when you tell 5 that 2 are going to make it and 3 are not,
Yeah.
you kind of just let their competitive juices go.
Yeah.
And what we tell them is that we are available for as much feedback as you like,
Yeah.
but we're not going to offer our feedback. It's up to you. And then when someone does something good, we just promote it to the other 4 just to kind of put it out there. Like if you can imagine when they were trying to break the 4-minute mile back in, Sebastian Coe and Steve Overt days,
Yeah.
he ran a 4:12 mile, he posted it. And someone ran a 4:10 mile, they posted it. Right. And it just drives that competitive
Yeah.
edge
Yeah.
internally. So that's the kind of behavior we're trying to foster,
Yeah. Yeah, and it's also healthy, right? And I'm thinking if it's in sales, right? They wanna
Yeah.
they wanna
It's,
win.
it,
That's
it's
that.
actually,
Yeah.
yeah, it's actually business ownership, but yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's it's business ownership of a sales company.
Yeah, that's awesome. I heard somewhere, and I forgot where. I need to be better at writing down, where I heard it. But that if you are asking somebody for advice, right, they will be on your side and guide you. But if you're
Right.
saying, "Can I get your feedback, or can you give me," yeah, you will get more of the negative. So the how
That's
you,
interesting.
yeah, isn't that interesting? So how you actually are asking um of getting that advice to be better or going somewhere, right? It's this different way of asking. So I'm going to try it out. I don't have my results back, but I will follow up on that one. But I think it's interesting.
It's really interesting because a lot of my emails, I say your guidance and feedback would be greatly appreciated. So I guess I'm asking for both.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I like that. I like that. No. Okay, that's interesting. I like to know that you're making this like not as, yeah, it is a competition, but they're stepping up, right? They need to show that actually they earned that spot that you have available. What about to work smarter? How do you in your company? How have you upgraded and done all this digital software
Right.
or making integrations in your data? What have you implemented? And you don't need to say the names. It's not that I'm asking, but just to say what have you done and have you seen the benefit of it?
Yeah. So we have a new mission statement that's about 6 months old. I mean, that's not really not a mission statement. It's an internal strategy, which automate the things that can be automated,
Yeah.
semi-automate the things that can be semi-automated to allow us the time to do the things we want to do.
Yeah.
So, for example, the things that we have automated, we have weekly reports that are automatically sent to us for our open and past due action items. We have weekly reports that show us our forecast versus year-to-date sales performance. We have weekly reports for the key principles, just all the activity that goes on, whether it be first-time buy, CRM entries, SAMSOM analysis, forecast. We
Yeah.
have bi-monthly reports going out for distributor registration status and performance reviews. And then we have customer and distributor partner portals that allow our customers and or our distributors to provide updates to opportunities to us with no human touch. So it's
Nice.
a frictionless engagement that comes via email. And then for principal travel, we also have a principal travel portal where we send them a link and they put in their travel logistics, airlines, hotel reservations, whether or not they have a car, arrival time, departure time, and that gets automatically updated into our trip planner.
Yeah.
So we've taken things that used to have human interaction
Yeah.
and we've automated them, and we think that's a simple definition of, working smarter.
Yeah.
Things that we don't have to do that get done.
No, yeah, it's good, right? It's also some of that can take so much time sometimes,
Right.
right? It's all the manual, especially with some of the reports. It can take so much time to create them. So as much as you can automate it, it's going to save the time. And I think if I am in a meeting and you just cut it short, right? And you're like, yes, I got time back. It makes your days better, right? But so all these reports, because you had a lot, right?
Right.
How do you make sure that you then are reviewing them or taking action from them and stepping up the game over time?
It's interesting you said that because we just had training this morning about that. So
Oh,
we view it as a dashboard on your car.
yeah,
So as you drive, you look at your dashboard every couple of minutes or so. You check down, make sure you're not speeding. There's no red lights, that you have gas. It's a tachometer.
yeah,
So these reports are all tachometers. So anything that's out of whack is color coded. So when you open up, you'll see a red or an amber. You'll see a green for what's good. And
yeah,
then if it's red or ambers, you have to take action.
yeah.
And that's the whole purpose of it.
I like it.
Yeah,
Do you,
it seems to work.
yeah, yeah. So what kind of now I'm afraid of saying feedback or advice do you get from your team? Because I'm pretty sure when you have something, right, there's also your employees or your sales or the whole team will say, oh, we can make it better, or what if we did this? So
Oh,
how do you do the iterations of improving your dashboard?
yeah. So you hire people that aren't shy, and apparently we've hired not shy people, and we get
But
feedback all the time. Oh, could it do this? Oh, could it do that? So I mean, we actually have a full-time data scientist, and
yeah,
this is their role. They're
yeah,
constantly updating because, if I can give you everything that you want from me before you ask for it,
yeah,
then what do you ask for?
yeah,
And that's our ultimate goal
yeah,
is to do do the review before the review is requested.
yeah. So that's ahead of the game, right?
Be ahead of the game, right? Which
Yeah,
allows you to really talk about strategy, right? Strategy at the highest level. What can you do to make the business better at the highest level, as opposed to spend time on the tactical things which are already known?
yeah. So it sounds easy, right? Because you're saying we have it automated, we have all this, we have this person that's dedicated to it. But how do you foster this company culture? What can you share examples of how you got here and how you keep fostering it?
Well, how we got here is pretty simple. When you sit through a business review that's 5 hours and you're a person like me, I'm highly motivated to not spend time in a business review. So as an owner of the company, I'm like, okay, I just had 10 people sit in a room for 5 hours going over information that possibly we could have spent a half hour going over and got 10 people 4.5 hours back of their life.
Yeah,
So then you sit back and you say, okay, what information do we provide? Does that information already reside somewhere in the world? If that information already resides somewhere in the world, why can't we pull that information and consolidate it into the report that the manufacturer is asking for before they ask for it? And
yeah,
then also there's a little bit of a training in that you get the sales team accustomed to what the manufacturers want so that when they're engaging with the customers and or the distributors, they're asking those questions before those questions are asked of the manufacturers, and that data is being captured. And
yeah,
then when the manufacturer asks for the data is already there. So it's kind of just being strategic, knowing where they are and getting the sales team to get there before the manufacturers ask so that you can have a much more efficient meeting.
yeah,
A perfect example I can give you is we had a very large principal come and interview us for line representation. And we sat down with their management and said, what is it that you want to see during the review? And they told us what they wanted to see during the interview. They gave us 2 hours. And it was a very large line, and we had 14 salespeople, 3 territories interviewing for that line, and we were done in 70 minutes.
What?
And we had 50, and there was maybe 35 people on the call,
Yeah.
and we all sat there, were like, we have nothing more to say. You have any questions? They go, nope. And it was just like that, those kind of examples,
Yeah.
or, that to me is great. Get it done quicker, sooner. And of course, we were awarded the line also.
Yeah.
So it was
Even better. Yeah.
even better.
Even better. Yeah. And just to see that success, right, gives you, I would have, if was in your seat, gives you that boost, right, to say we're driving and going in the right direction with
Right.
everything you have invested, because it's not, you're still investing in it, right?
And hopefully, from the manufacturer point of view, their takeaway was, wow, they came prepared. They had
Yeah.
everything we needed, and they gave us back 50 minutes of our life.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of people I want to be partners with.
Oh yeah. Yeah. When I schedule meetings, if I can do it in 30 minutes instead of that hour, I always schedule 30, and then you can get it done in 30. Just go
Yeah.
less, right? And then you talk.
Can I have a comment about that, by the way?
Yeah, let me hear.
My perfect meeting with a company, customer or manufacturer, is getting the meeting done before the meeting even happens.
Happen. Yeah.
So, like, if you're going to go in there, say, I'm coming in, these are the things I want to discuss. I hope you agree with these things. And when we get there, these are the questions that we're going to ask. And so many times those questions get answered before you get into the meeting. They say, oh, well, if that's what you want to discuss, here's the answers.
Yeah.
And then comes the question, well, do we need to have the meeting now? Because we get all the questions answered. And then it's like, well, why don't you come in and say hello? And now that hour meeting became 10 minutes. And everyone's happy because the information's been transferred and everyone got back 50 minutes of their life.
And you got there faster, right? In having it
Yes.
resolved before the meeting.
Right.
Yeah.
So many times people say, well, they're coming in next week. Why don't we just wait till then? And I'm like, why wait till then? Let's have the meeting now before the meeting.
Yeah.
And ultimately, the meeting becomes a handshake, or just becomes an update, or let's agree to what we agreed to. And then it's much cleaner, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. And you build on the relationship. It's on a more positive note. I want to ask, because it seems like you're like in the, in that, I don't know, speed lane of, being in front of everyone right now, of how you have hiring, younger talent into your team. You are doing everything digitalizations. I'm sure that some of your manufacturers that you work with, it's not on the same level as you.
Oh, without a doubt.
So how do you navigate that world?
Oh, so what's happening is that, many times they're coming to us to help coach them on how to do things, which is, it's what's the word I'm looking for? It's really the nicest compliment that they can give us.
Yeah.
Plagiarism is the nicest form of complimenting. So I've had manufacturers come to me and say that their lead program isn't good. How do we do our lead program? What's our lead process? How do we handle it? I've had manufacturers come to us and say they'd like to have a digital demand creation strategy. How do we do it?
Yeah.
What kind of results are we getting? And then a lot of times we want to promote their products, but their marketing teams can't give us what we need, which is basically copy, well-written marketing documents and images that we need for our marketing campaigns that their marketing team just doesn't have available.
Yeah.
Or customer-friendly presentations. But, we have other manufacturers that are right there with us. And it's great because it's kind of like having two good partners, and we're bouncing ideas off each other.
Yeah. That's good. It gets you a little bit closer, right? And it's always nice to have somebody saying, we're looking up to you guys.
Well,
And
it's nice to have conversations other than what's your forecast, what's your
yeah.
sales. It's nice to have, it's like an adult conversation other than what's your forecast, what's your sales, right?
Yeah. I like it. I like it. Let's talk a little about leadership and leadership skills. So
Yeah.
you're looking for new talent. What kind of skills are you looking for?
The number one skill for running a representative business, the number one skill is instilling a confidence. So the principals must have confidence in the rep owner. So we're looking for people who can get that type of confidence, and it's not people that they like, it's people that they trust. And it could be people that they don't like as long as they trust them. So they're looking for people that can, so you see rep owners and they're fantastic salespeople.
Yeah.
But well, like he's a great sales guy, but I'm not sure if I trust my investment in him. And they always want, it's almost like an operations person who runs a rep company. It's the person who can keep their thumb on the pulse, make sure everyone's going in the right direction, make sure the culture is understood, the strategy is understood. And when there are problems, and there's always problems in our business, who's going to step in and solve the problem, whether it be a principal problem, a customer problem, a distributor problem, or a personnel problem.
Yeah.
So what we're looking for, what I look for really is to have the manufacturer say, I trust that person's judgment, because that's the first step in the confidence. And then when I ask all of our newer hires, when there's a problem, I say, before you come to me with a problem, come to me with your solution.
Yeah.
Tell me what your solution is. Tell me what the risk mitigation is with your solution. How will the principal feel about it? How will the customer feel about it? How will the distributor feel about it? And then how will our personnel feel about it?
Yeah.
Understand it from all four aspects. And I just understand their thought process. And then I share with them my thought process in the hopes of educating to future solutions. It's like a big learning curve.
Yeah.
And I learned my rep company started in 1952. So I had the first generation, the second generation, I'm the third generation. So I
Yeah.
had the benefit of about 70 years of knowledge that was passed on to me. And
Yeah.
I'm trying to pass that on to the next generation.
Yeah. So how do you learn? Because you've learned a lot with all this experience as
How
well.
do I learn?
Yeah.
I'm just very lucky. I have a wonderful group of friends outside of the rep business,
Yeah.
mainly Wall Street guys, lawyers, real estate guys. And I just ask them all the time about their business. I ask them about their management struggles, their personality struggles, their finance struggles, their hiring struggles.
Yeah.
And we just collaborate about, ideas and challenges. It's amazing how much you can learn
Yeah.
looking outside of your industry.
I agree. Yeah. It's so good to have and looking outside because the similarity on it. Um and you can reflect on it and you can say, I can take that part or that part, right? And then you can implement it. So
Right. Yeah,
so
I'm
what's
amazed how
yeah.
similar other businesses are to our business at the end of the day. Like someone's like, oh, a principal can fire you with 30 days notice. That must be very tough on you. I'm like, well, can an advertising company get fired by like can't Coca-Cola
Yeah.
fire them? It's the same kind of challenge.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just different industries, right?
Right.
So what have the industry learned if you just look for the last maybe 2 years? What have you seen of what where we're going and what have we learned?
So interesting. First of all, the last 5 years have been something that unprecedented, right? COVID.
Yeah.
And what COVID did to the industry, and now that we believe there's 40% of our industry is now millennial, and of the Gen Zs, all of the Gen Zs were hired during COVID, and the work from home, work remote is just a different animal. And one of the biggest challenges that we're having is, we used to go to these customers and sit in the lobby and have 5 or 6 appointments, and then also grab 3 or 4 engineers as they walk by the lobby or
Yeah.
call me, hey, I'm in the lobby. Can you come down and spend 10 minutes with me? It appears that right now those days are not available. I'm hoping they come back at some point. So it's the relationships that we have are fine, and we've developed some new relationships, but there's probably a lot more relationships out there that have to be fostered. But if the
Yeah.
people are not in the office, or when they come to the office 2 or 3 days a week, their schedules are jam-packed, that they don't have time to sit with a vendor for a half hour or an hour. It's how do you generate these new relationships with the work from home or work remote
Yeah.
culture? And we have yet to solve this challenge.
Yeah.
We talk about it weekly, but we can't solve it yet.
No. So I think it's bringing value, right? But you have to find with the engineers is, what kind of value do you bring? But if you start, it's always to get over the first step. And
Correct.
I'm pretty sure that's the one, right? You need to get into that first step. But from there, if you bring value, or you have the samples, right, or you have the technical solutions, or you have something new, or anything you can bring that will make that engineer's life easier, then you have something to build on. But I'm totally with you. It's the first step to get in. And I can look in my email box, and I'm sure yours is the same. I get flooded where I'm like, I didn't ask for this email, right? For somebody wants to sell me something. But if somebody's saying, hey, I read this or saw this, and I think that could, make an interesting talk, or that could save you some time. They're not selling me at this point. Then they have my attention. I hate the ones that want to sell something and want to have that meeting first. That's just not me, but I
Yeah,
don't know how you
but
go about it.
in our business, we believe that engineers have a responsibility to their companies that they work for to know what the latest and greatest technology is.
Yeah,
You get hired by a OEM, you're an engineer, you have a responsibility. I must know what the latest and greatest technology is.
yeah,
How do they learn about it? They can't Google it, right? They have to learn somehow.
yeah,
We, as a sales force, are the best place to tell them about what's coming down the roadmap, right? But if we're not engaged with them, how are they learning?
yeah,
And that's a conversation that we're trying to have with engineering management, saying you have Zillennials working for you. They have a responsibility to your company to learn. We're
yeah,
not meeting with them. Can you help us, right?
yeah,
But if you have no relationships with that company, or it's a startup company, or it's three 28-year-olds who just into some VC money,
yeah,
and they don't have an office, how do you engage? And that's a challenge for everyone,
yeah,
unless you have the right solution that they picked to go with from the beginning.
yeah. Yeah, and that's also the whole sales funnel, right? Because even that you communicate with them maybe tomorrow, maybe they don't need your solution tomorrow, right? Maybe they need it in 4 months. So it's also to make sure that you have that conversation or that flow of an interaction is also important. So
Right.
yeah, you can map everything out. No.
No, it's hard. It's hard,
Yeah.
but as I tell the team that works for me, if you're the first one to solve this challenge, you're going to be automatically in the lead. No one, in my opinion, not that I know of, no one has solved the challenge yet.
No.
And we have 12 Zillennials on our team. So
Yeah.
who better than us to go do it?
Yeah.
But we have to get it solved.
Yeah. Yeah. You will. I believe in it.
Yeah.
I believe
I
in it.
hope.
You will. So I have my last question here is, let's reflect together a little bit. So if
But
you, Mark, should give yourself an advice maybe 10 or 15 years ago, what will that be?
the advice 10 or 15 years ago, I guess to realize how powerful data can be and to put systems in place that really reduce the amount of effort that, if you keep your sales team selling, they're going to be most happy. And every time you ask your sales team to pull data or sit in a review or update data, things that they don't view, we try to hire salespeople who derive pleasure from selling, but they don't derive pleasure from updating Excel and PowerPoint.
No.
So when they have to update Excel and PowerPoint for a few hours, their mood changes, and then they're not in the mood to sell because they've just been updating for 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah.
So if we can keep our sales team engaged in the things that they love to do, they'll be happier, they'll be more motivated. So 15 years ago, I would have looked at ways to make the business more efficient, more efficient, more efficient. I probably started 5 years ago, which unfortunately is 10 years too late.
Oh, you will speed up. You can do it.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think if you look, I like the advice of the reflection here. I think as well, looking at everybody is in different levels, right? And the pandemic pushed everyone to work or to look into it, to how we could implement and be remote or be hybrid, right, in different ways. And now we're settling in to find a new way of working. So I think you had all the tools and you have the right mindset. That's how I see it. So
Well, thank you. We actually hired 3 kids during COVID, and for the first 2.5 years, they never went on the road. Part of the reason why I brought them to the ERA meeting in Austin was
yeah,
to let them know that there's actually an industry of other people. It's
that's
not
real
only
people.
yeah. It's just
That's
they
that's
really had
actually
nowhere to
that's more
go.
than just the top of us, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
There's legs to us.
But, I'm glad it's over, and I'm glad we're getting back, and
Oh
people
yeah,
can go back to the office. It
yeah,
feels good.
Yeah, I think that's why with all the events or conferences and stuff that's going on and trade shows, right? You can see the excitement that everybody is so happy again, that maybe it was dying a little bit before COVID, but after we were like, oh my God, right? This is the industry and we like the interaction and to see how everything is going and yeah, and learning
Right.
from it. So it's awesome. So if any of the listeners want to reach out to you, how can they connect with you?
I think LinkedIn's best. I'm on LinkedIn. Mark.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. So I'll make a link from your LinkedIn to the show notes and also on the website episode page on leadershipinmanufacturing.com. So Mark, thank you so much. I think this was great. I will take a note for me saying that I will short the meeting to 30 minutes instead of an hour. And now you said, hey, let's make it, let's solve it before you have the meeting. I'm going to try that out. So I think that's good. And then I want to say I look up to your team and to your company of hiring all these new Generation Z, Gen Z, right? It's just amazing to see the effort and what you're doing and what you're putting in, and you are going to be miles ahead of everybody else. So keep doing it.
Thank you. And thank you very much for reaching out and giving me the opportunity to share my thoughts. I really appreciate it.
If you like Leadership in Manufacturing podcast, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and share the show wherever you get the podcast. Our podcast is for industry decision makers like yourself, providing a personalized experience to elevate your leadership journey. So be sure to tune in. You'll have access to a wealth of practical advice and innovative strategies, boosting and refining your leadership style. So check it out. It's on leadershipinmanufacturing.com. Remember, stay curious, keep learning. See you next time.